Temu, you remember, right? It is like one day it didn't exist, and next it was absolutely everywhere. Super Bowl ads, the top of the App Store, promising prices so low they seemed impossible. Well, it turns out they kind of were. So today we are going to dig into how Timo flew so close to the sun and why it's all coming crashing down. Okay, let's just start with a number that honestly is going to sound completely insane. In 2023, for every single order that Timo shipped to the US, it lost an average $30. Yeah, you heard me right. They were losing money, a ton of it, on every single thing they sold. How in the world does company losing money hand over fist becoming the number one most downloaded app on the entire planet? It just doesn't seem impossible. But it's exactly what happened. Let's break it down. So first up we have go to talk about the rise, and rise doesn't even do it justice. This thing was a rocket ship and it was built on a very specific and let me tell you a very powerful appeal. So what was the big secret? Well, on the surface, it was a pretty simple. Temu had like everything you could possibly imagine, and it was all stupid cheap. We are talking 50 hairbands for a buck 17. And here is the kicker. Unlike someone its rival, the stuff actually showed up. Now was it the best quality? Nah, but for the price you paid, it felt like you are getting away with something. You know what's really wild is that their whole strategy was actually pretty brilliant in its simplicity. They basically just looked at their biggest competitor, Wish, and fixed everything people absolutely hated about it. Shipping from Wish took forever. Okay, Timo got it there in 2 weeks. Wish was notorious for scams. Timo made sure you got what you ordered. They just built a better mousetrap, and man, did customers come running. But look, a better product is one thing. To get that big, that fast, that takes a playbook. A really aggressive and really expensive playbook. So let's pull back the curtain and see what was powering this whole operation. It really came down to three key things. First, they had an almost bottomless pit of money. Second, they launched an advertising blitz that was just gargantuan. And third, they designed an app that wasn't just for shipping, it was designed to be addictive. So, bottomless pit of money, where did it come from? Well, Timo was not some scrappy startup. No way, it was bankrolled by PDD Holdings, a Chinese e-commerce titan worth around $100 billion. That's the secret sauce. That's how they could afford to lose $30 on every order. See, the goal was not profit. It was pure uncut growth at all cost. And if you want to understand that growth at all cost really looks like, just look at this number $2 billion. That is how much time we spent on ads just on Meta platform in a single year. They were the youngest brand ever to run a Super Bowl ad. I mean, they were spending so much money, they were literally making advertising more expensive for everybody else. And once they spent all that money to get you in the door, they had a whole system to make sure you never left. As one retail analyst, Neil Saunders, put it, and I love this, Timo is as addictive as sugar. The whole experience was just engineered to give you these little dopamine hits. Like it was less shopping and more like playing a slot machine. And they did it with the classic tricks from mobile gaming. They had daily price wheels, countdown timers to create this fake sense of urgency, and all those little notifications, right? Only 3 left. This is in 52 cards. It's all a psychological game, an illusion of scarcity designed to make you hit that buy button right now. And you know what? It worked like a charm. But here is the thing. While their massive shiny empire was being built on the surface, underneath it all, some really serious cracks were starting to show that whole growth at all cost models. Well, it has a dark side, and I mean, some of these cracks were literally dangerous. A European an investigation turned up some terrifying stuff. Infant toys that were actually suffocation hazards, electric heaters with a risk of shock and explosion. They even found plastic toys with the hormone disrupting chemicals at 240 times the legal limit. This was not just cheap stuff, this was actively unsafe, and the red flag didn't stop with they were also huge data piracy concerns swirling around. They got a lot worse when it come that Timu's sister app, Pinduoduo, which was built by the exact same people, got booted from the Google Play Store because it contained actual malware. Now, to be clear, no malware was found on Temu itself, but that connection. It was enough to make a lot of people very, very nervous. But you know what? All of that dangerous product, the piracy concern, it all pales in comparison to real secret. The key that unlocked their entire business model, it was not just the money or the ads, it was a little known legal loophole. And when that loophole closed, the whole house of the cards came tumbling down. Okay, so it all comes down to obscure rule called the de minimis rule. What is it? Well, in simple terms, it is a US custom things. It says that if a package being shipped into the country is valued below a certain dollar amount, it can come in without any duties, taxes or tariffs. It basically get a free pass. And in the US, that magic number is $800. This was a linchpin of Temu's entire strategy. By making sure every individual package shipped from their Chinese suppliers was valued at less than 800 bucks, they got to completely sidestep the huge tariffs that are normally placed on Chinese goods. No taxes, no tariffs. That's how the prices were so impossibly cheap. Well, as you can probably guess, that all changed. On April 2nd, an executive order was designed that was specifically designed to close this loophole from these kinds of shipments coming from China. Just 1 month later, it went into effect. And just like that, proved the entire foundation of Timu's business model vanished overnight. So what happens when the foundation of your business disappears? You get a swift and absolutely brutal unraveling. The fallout from closing that loophole was immediate and it was devastating. The markets reacted instantly. Timu's parent company, PDD, watched its net worth crater by 47% in the quarter. Their stock price, it dropped 14% on the day of the announcement. I mean, with their costs suddenly set to explode. Wall Street did not wait around. And it was not just a stock market. The customers felt it too. As prices started to creep up and shipping times got longer, people started leaving in droves. Get this, in the last week of the April alone, new app downloads plunged by mind-blowing 78%, and the number of the people actually using the app each week dropped by the 43%. The conclusion here is simple and pretty sharp. The era of the time was insane, recording is smashing, market breaking, growth is officially over. The magic trick was revealed and now magic is gone. So what the big takeaway from all of this? Well, Temu probably would not disappear entirely, but that Amazon killer hype, that's gone for good. Its whole business was built on the two things that were never going to last: losing money on purpose and a legal loophole. It was a brilliant strategy for a short-term blitz. But as one source put it so well, it ultimately came back to bite them big time. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. The story of Temu is a wild ride for sure, but it also kind of forces you and me to ask a bigger question. Whenever we see a price that seems way too good to be true, who is really paying for it? Is it us, the consumers with unsafe products? Is it the worker somewhere down the line, or is it just a business model that was built on sand and was always going to collapse? Something to chew on.